Hi, welcome back to The Way of Mastery. This is an introduction to one of the core texts of The Way of Mastery, known as The Way of the Heart. There are 5 core texts in The Way of Mastery. The first one that was created is the Jesuit letters, the second, The Way of the Servant, and then after that, a series of more formal teachings began coming through Jesuit's sharing. These 3 books comprise the final 3 books of the Way of Mastery core texts, and they're known in order as the Way of the Heart, the Way of Transformation, and the Way of Knowing. And the 3 of them together are known as the Christ Mind Trilogy. These are sequential teachings meant to be done one book at a time. So the first to dive into is the Way of the Heart, and it's a really good starting place for anyone coming into this pathway of study. You don't need to start with the Jesuit letters. You can if you want, but in terms of the formal studies, Jesuit starts laying out the formal studies in the Way of the Heart, and then that's meant to be completed before moving on to the second of the trilogy, which is the Way of Transformation. Now, when I say completed, really what's being shared here is that before reading the Way of Transformation, it's recommended that the student not only read, but complete the exercises of the Way of the Heart. Many of you might be Course in Miracles students or had experience with A Course in Miracles. And in the Course, it says very clearly, it's not appropriate to go on to the next lesson in the workbook. It's not appropriate to read or to start studying lesson 20 until you've done lessons 1 through 19. And no, in the Course, no more than 1 a day. These teachings, the Way of the Heart, the Way of Transformation, the Way of Knowing, were originally given as audio recordings. And they were given to an original group of students, 1 per month. There are 12 lessons in the Way of the Heart. And so the first year, the students would study each of these lessons for a month at a time. There's no hard and fast rule that you need to do that. But it's worth keeping in mind that when Joshua first gave these lessons, that was the time frame in which they were given. So time is really to nurture the lessons, to allow them to have their way with you, to affect you, to help the growth and transformation that you're probably looking for if you're studying this type of thing. The Way of the Heart is the first of the formal lessons, and that means that this part of the Way of Mastery starts becoming more like the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Now, it's not daily lessons, but there are lessons and exercises throughout the Christ Mind Trilogy. These are, as the second of the series, The Way of Transformation, will say, they're about profound transformation, profound inner transformation. I will do in time a step-by-step analysis and study of each of these, starting obviously with the Way of the Heart, and we'll have several videos for each of the lessons, each of the 12 lessons. Just go through it step by step as we dive into it more, deeply. This video is really just to share a basic introduction to the Way of the Heart. So I'm just going to read a little bit from Way of the Heart, Lesson 1, and just so you can get a flavor for what the Way of the Heart is about. And for a lot of people, Course in Miracles fans, I was a Course in Miracles student and teacher for many years. I love the Course in Miracles. For me, the Way of the Heart was where my internal teacher, the Holy Spirit, led me after the Course, after my experience with the workbook of the Course and studying the Course for many years. In the Course it says, this is not the end, it's a beginning. And then Jeshua always, in the Way of Mastery, starts the teachings and the channelings with, now we begin. So it seems like a natural segue. And whereas the Course is highly conceptual, and there's a lot of what could be called intellect going on in the experience and study and the creation of that of the Course, the Course in Miracles, Way of Mastery has a little different flavor, and I'll share some of it with you now. This is Jeshua in The Way of the Heart. The way of the heart is not the way of the intellect. For indeed, that aspect of the mind was never designed to be your master. It was designed to be the humble and, if you will pardon the expression, very stupid servant of the awakened heart. The heart is that which feels all things, embraces all things, trusts all things, allows all things. The heart is that in which the soul rests eternally. The heart is that which is beyond space and time, and is that spark of light in the mind of God, which is called Christ. And only in that will you find the peace that you seek. You will find then that the pathway of awakening is not a pathway of avoidance, but a pathway of truthfulness. It is not a pathway of accomplishment and pride, but a pathway of releasing from the consciousness every hope and every wish to be special, to see yourself as having made progress so that you can pound a fist upon the chest and spread the tail feathers. It is a transcendence of the hope of somehow getting God's attention so that he will look upon you and say, oh, you've been such a good person. Oh, my goodness, yes. Well, I think we'll allow you into the kingdom now. The way of the heart is a way in which you will come to cultivate, regardless of your inner experience or degree of awakening, to cultivate the willingness and the art of returning to the simplicity of empty-headedness and not knowingness with each and every breath. It is a way of life in which all things and all events become an aspect of your meditation and your prayer, until there is established once again within you the truth that is true always. Not my will, but thine be done. For of myself I do nothing, but my Father does all things through me. Imagine then a state of being in which you walk through this world, seemingly appearing like everyone else, and yet you are spacious within. You are empty within. In truth, you desire nothing, though you allow desire to move through you, and you recognize it as the voice of the Father, guiding your personality, your emotions, and even the body, to the places, to the events, to the people, to the things, to the experiences, through which the tapestry of the atonement is being woven, through which all of the children of God are called home again. Just a short reading from a very beautiful text, a very powerful text. When I first saw the Jeshua letters, that's how I first came to the Way of Mastery, I was stunned by the beauty and the depth of channelings, the teachings. Only part of that book includes channelings, but the Way of the Heart is entirely and directly from Jeshua. Each of these lessons, remarkably, were given in one go. There was no editing, there was no rewrite. JM, the channel of the Way of Mastery, sat down, Jeshua came through, boom, done, one take, like Mozart, we're told, creating, without any editing, works of genius. Now, I'm just inviting you to try this out, see what you think, sharing my experience of deep gratitude for these beautiful, life-changing teachings. They say that all the teachings, all the spiritual teachings say the same thing. This is a cliche in spiritual circles. It's not my experience. My experience is the Way of Mastery has levels of profound understanding and meaning I don't see anywhere else. And indeed, in the Way of the Heart, Joshua shares that the teachings that are in this book and in this trilogy and in this pathway are the teachings that he was given in his life so that he might fulfill his mission. We're being given this remarkable gift. If you choose to accept it, if it's something that speaks to you, obviously, everybody follow your true heart, follow your true head. Trust yourself and trust your knowledge and your inner sense of desire for healing and wholeness and return to truth. For me, the Way of Mastery has been the most profound of all the spiritual disciplines I've seen. I truly believe, because of this, I truly believe in the many signs and wonders and miracles I've seen on my journey of almost a quarter of a century with this pathway. This is a remarkable, beautiful teaching. And the Way of the Heart is where it really kicks off and really starts engaging on a daily practice of transformation. The Way of the Heart, one of the core texts of the Way of Mastery, and the first book in the Christ Mind Trilogy, which is a big part of the formal teachings of the Way of Mastery. Thank you for listening.